I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, March the 9th, brought to you in part by Brommagen Commodities, Candy Sullivan, out there in Kentucky. I tell you what, I talk to her pretty much every day, and she kind of keeps me abreast of what's going on in your commodity deals, and she's pretty darn handy. Whether you want to set up a speculating account, an investment account, if you want to set up a hedging account, whatever you want to do, she can do that for you. And we were talking on Monday there, and she thinks, and a lot of the experts think, that you guys might want to look off whatever you're raising right now. If you're feeding cattle, you might want to look out in your out fronts on your live cattle pits there, and kind of dally up to one of those months that jibes with the cattle that you're feeding. If you're going to turn cattle out here in summer on grass, you might want to look at those late summer, early fall contracts on your feeder cattle, because those look pretty darn good right now. And I think we can all kind of agree that 120 is just a mirage. You know, your packers and the powers that be might let your live cattle trade at those levels, but we're never going to see them come to fruit unless we get some kind of a mandated minimum negotiated cash trade. And I'm not going to go on and keep you guys as long as I did on our last visit, and I apologize for that. I know you guys are busy, got stuff to do, and you can take out maybe 10, 12, 15 minutes for this report, but you know, get up there close to 30 minutes, that was ridiculous, and I realize that. It's just whenever I start talking about groups that are supposed to be and calling themselves cattle advocates, and they're really packer sellouts, it just kind of gets my ire up, and I want to get the point across, and I think I kind of did, but you know, nobody wants to listen to anybody go on for that long. But we'll just kind of get through the markets and talk about the high points here, and then let y'all get on with your day. Let's look at the board for Monday, opening the week. April live cattle futures up 32 cents, 119.35. June up $1.15 at 119.15. You look back just not even a month ago, February the 17th, April live cattle were at 125.80. And now that we're there, our spot contract here, we're barely clinging to 119 and a little bit of change here, guys. Of course, we've had a 114 market for over a month. We don't have any kind of leverage to get any kind of trade done, guys. Yet you've got your largest state cattle associations strongly opposing something that would fix that, something that would fix that immediately. It's hard to figure, guys. But let's look at your back months on live cattle. They were up 35 cents to up 95 cents. So anytime you get pluses to start the week, that's a good deal. March feeder cattle up 75 cents at 135.35, and they are continuing to trade at a premium to what our cash market is and what our index levels are at. And we've got these heavy receipts moving right now. We can't achieve those kind of levels, and that's going to have to settle up here, you know, late in the month. But we're still in the first part of March. Let's look at your April feeder cattle futures up 65 cents at 139.67. Going out from there on your back months, feeder cattle not up as much, from down just 7 cents to up 60 cents. But going out there and look at some of those far out feeder cattle. And if you guys are buying calves, you're buying grazing cattle to turn out, you look at your August feeders out, 154.27. Now, I remember, you know, when I was out there picking up deliveries in the Flint Hills there mid to late last summer with Jimmy Craig, those cattle were bringing around 140, weighing in the middle to upper eights, and maybe one deal or two at 900 pounds at 140. That 154.25 looks pretty darn good. I'm not sure how close you could get to that on a basis deal now, but just go ahead and take your position, even if you just buy some puts or something, and protect part of that. Protect your profits there, guys. How about go out to November, 156.22? that's pretty darn good for you guys that really push your calves that are being born right now, and you can kind of catch a hold of something like that. That's pretty darn good. Your corn and beans and grains are all a little bit stronger there to start the week, but look at your corn levels at 565 a bushel, beans 1437 and 3/4 to end the day on Monday, and then September KC wheat, that hard red winter wheat that guys love to graze, at 633 a bushel. Guys are going to kind of want to make a crop out of that if they've got any wheat at all. And we're coming off wheat right now. I always remember that from the days that when I was younger, and we ran a lot of cattle on wheat. If a guy's going to make a wheat crop, you got to have your cattle off of there before March the 15th. Well, this being a Monday, a lot of people like to sell earlier in the week. This was your last Monday to do that. And guess what? Oklahoma City had 14,300 head. And there weren't really that many cattle out on wheat. And a lot of guys had run out of wheat and had already pulled them off. But tell you what, as dry as it is in a lot of places, as dry as it is in New Mexico, they didn't have much wheat pasture at all. For the most part, your Texas Panhandle didn't have any wheat pasture at all. Now you get south of Lubbock, down in there in some places, West Texas, they had some wheat. They had some snow and they had some moisture along there, but you don't have to go very far into Oklahoma, and they had some decent wheat in spots there. And so those guys were coming off there, but I wouldn't say it was a big wheat year. And like I said, cattle have been coming off wheat for the last month or so. If they had them grazed or stocked pretty heavy, they likely ran out of wheat, but had to come off of there. Guys, there's not going to be, I wouldn't say, any graze out wheat to speak of. Because, like I said, if guys are going to make a crop, it doesn't really hurt their yields to graze out wheat. But if they're going to make a crop, they've got to have them off there by March the 15th. And likely, as short as this wheat looks around, there's just not going to be enough of it out there for guys to have much graze out wheat. But we are thinking that some of our major grazing areas are going to have pretty good grass coming up here a little bit later this spring. And those big snows bring about pretty big grass because they've got nitrogen in there. And we did have some big snows in areas that don't always get them. So you look at your Osages and places, probably going to have some pretty decent grass to get started on. And man, are guys going after the stocker cattle. Not really a soft ball and calf for sure, but some cattle that are kind of calf weight yearlings or long time weaned calves that's been hard wintered. Those are your stocker types, and guys really going after those, as those are the kind they don't have to worry too much, and they will absolutely turn a flip when they give them something to graze. And that's what they want, is that compensatory gain, those easy pounds that they get. And you can cheapen cattle up grazing pretty darn fast. As expensive as it is to shut them up and feed them, it's pretty economical to turn them out. And I think most of us all admit that cattle were meant to graze. That's why they got a rumen. And when you turn cattle out that are ready for something to eat, and you give them some pasture of any kind, it's just therapeutic to watch them go to it. But let's talk about your weighted average on last week's negotiated fat cattle trade in your 5-area feeding region. 68,700 head. That compares to 67,800 head the previous week, and 95,200 head. Tell you what, we're getting used to selling 5-area volume in the 60s somewhere. And I told you we're a lot more comfortable thinking that we got a pretty good dispersal of your show list at 100,000, but that just hasn't been happening for a long time, and it's going to continue to dwindle, guys, unless we make them trade a minimum percentage of their sales on a negotiated basis, or a minimum percentage of their weekly volume is what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of ways to put it, but you guys know what I'm getting at. But your weighted average on last week's steers, live steers and heifers, sold from 110 to 114 a quarter. Basically steady at 114, but there was a lot more 113, and there wasn't any 115 really to speak of, or 15 and a half. like we had that previous week in some cattle that were fed under sheds. We didn't see that. So your weighted average on live steers suffered 113.64. That was down 43 cents compared to the previous week's weighted average. That's significantly lower. And it was a lot worse on your dressed. Dressed steers and heifers range from 178 to 182. But if you remember, there was a lot of 182 that previous week, and there was a lot more 178 this past week. And the weighted average on dressed steers suffered 179.79 by the end of all your trades in your 5-area feeding region dressed on steers. That was $1.84, basically $2 lower when you threw them all together, but it pretty much had the same price spread. But we're definitely on the weaker side, and I would say that 114 would probably be a victory. I've been cussing it here the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I don't know that we can hold 114 this week. How about nationwide negotiated 79,600 head, which is hardly anything, compared to formula trades last week, 276,300 head. So, close to 200,000 more head sold on a formula deal than they did negotiated. But of that slim negotiated trade of just under 80,000, about 31% of those are for the 15 to 30 day delivery, which the guys had kind of shrugged that off for a week or two, trying to get some leverage back, but they gave pretty much all of it up. What else is going on? Don't forget that here on Tuesday is Winter Livestock, La Junta, Colorado. That's John Campbell's sale there that he manages. That's their 81st anniversary. And I think John's been there for most of those. And I'm not just kidding. I tell you what, and like John, I talked to him on Monday. Like he says, he's a little older. He just looks damn good for his age. He's carrying it good. But he's been there for most of those. And very proud to be there. But don't forget that sale. He's going to have 7,000 head on offer. I'm expecting some of those hard-wintered stockers out of there to top the market on Tuesday. I'll be looking to give some top quotes out of there on our next visit. But you can watch that sale on Cattle USA and get on and view and bid that sale there at Winter Live, as the locals are used to hearing it called. I'm going out the middle of this week, going to be heading down into south of Fort Worth there, Desdemona, Texas, to my friend Brady Chandler's place, Rooney Angus Ranch. Got their big production sale at their first-class sale facility there in Desdemona, Texas. You talk about high-tech genetics, guys. You want to get in on some good Angus genetics there. Don't forget that sale is going to be on dvauction.com on Thursday. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV Auction late on Monday at 133.49, down 33 cents, but that's not terrible. We've been being down the last many sessions more than that, and we had more volume there on Monday, so just losing 33 cents, that's not too bad compared to the end of last week. Big sales, of course, Oklahoma National Stockyards, Oklahoma City, 14,300 head. Big run for them, and that's our wheat run, guys. But look at your quotes there, and not too bad for having that many head of cattle. Feeders steady to $2 lower. You got to expect that with that much volume. Calves mostly steady, and those stalker type cattle, your turnout type cattle that I was talking about earlier, $5 to $8 higher. And how about Joplin Regional Stockyards? Huge run for them too. And there's some wheat. I tell you what, you get south and west of Joplin, you get into some grazing wheat there, but sure not any to the north or east of there. But Joplin Regional Stockyards just had a lot of cattle. They had a lot to catch up on. Sold 12,000 head on Monday. That's a big run too. And that deal was just a little bit different. They had some northern interests in there. They had some new buyers on the seats. Pretty snappy sale there. Of course, mostly for the steers, and that's what those northern interests want. But steers $2 to $4 higher. Heifers only steady. Pretty much all classes there on your two different sexes there. But talk about some stick out deals, and Joplin's not always known for those. They sell a lot of cattle, but look at this quote out of Joplin Regional Stockyards. 82 head, 570 pound steers at $176.75. That's scaring the hell out of 600 pounds, guys. Big time quote, big time quote. Talk Talked to my friend Steve Kenny there that lives southwest Missouri. Him and his grandson Rowdy, they raise some pretty fancy cattle around there. He had 200 head in Joplin. He was tickled to death with the way that they sold, and sure glad that he picked this week to bring them in, and so I'm glad for him. How about some individual quotes around Martin Livestock Auction, Martin, South Dakota? I got some quotes from them. The CG Ranch black steers sold pretty darn good, topped the market for about anywhere. 78 head, 791 pound steers at 143.85. But your top quote that I saw anywhere on Monday and your Zach Tran top quote for the day come out of Aberdeen Livestock Sales in Aberdeen, South Dakota. 60 head, 946 pound steers bring $140. That's your feeder flash for Tuesday.